Sure, there's plenty of good-looking gals in country music today, but to be honest, it's far too frequent that the discussion leaves out many of the hottest country babes of yesteryear. As the years go by, more and more female singers slip from the memory banks, and that's just not right. So, today we are toasting to some of country music's hottest babes. Now, this list isn't just about the singers with the most fame, the most money, or the biggest hits, although many of these do have a lot of clout in the country world. No, this video is all about the ones who really had it going on, who truly embraced what country music was all about, and made some darn good music in the process. Our list tackles all the essential decades of country music, all the way back to the swingin' 60s, the spectacular 70s, the excellent 80s, and the naughty 90s. I know some of your favorite country women will be on this list, but I'm also sure some will surprise you. Either way, you're not gonna wanna miss out on country music's most stunning women. But before we dive into the good old gals, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. And subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Are you ready? Well, let's go find out.
What happened?
Loretta Lynn. Let's begin this list with a forgotten bombshell and one of country music's biggest stars. When Loretta Lynn gained widespread fame for her hit Don't Come Home A-Drinkin', she became a sort of girl next door figure for Americans everywhere. While she wasn't as sleek or sanitized as other singers, Loretta's upbringing as a coal miner's daughter gave her a true and gritty appeal that just didn't quit. And this wild side of her also influenced her music. As Loretta's career progressed, she earned a reputation with her fierce, provocative music. Her songs were sometimes banned from radio for touching on explicit themes like birth control and teenage virginity. But while some were offended that a lady would sing about sexual topics, others flocked to her because of this, seeing her perform live every time they can. And because of this, Loretta spent 57 years touring without running out of fans. She simply made more. While country stars today look a heck of a lot different from Loretta Lynn, she truly created the blueprint for sexy country stars.
But who are they to judge who's wrong or right?
So one thing's for certain, Loretta Lynn has more than earned her place on this list. EMMYLOU Harris. Another underrated babe for this list, this time from the good old 70s, back when music was better, gas was 50 cents a gallon, and EMMYLOU Harris was tearing up the charts. Harris captivated Americans with honky-tonk hits like 2 More Bottles of Wine, and mournful and beautiful ones like Boulder to Birmingham. And while some country stars went for that Barbie doll look, the fact that EMMYLOU looked more like America's hottest librarian, it didn't hurt either. Whether she was rocking elegant long brown hair or the platinum look she often did, EMMYLOU Harris was stunning. She came out of the Greenwich Village folk scene, but always had too much country girl inside of her to go the way of Bob Dylan. No offense, Bob, but EMMYLOU is a heck of a lot easier on the eyes. And that's good for all of us, because EMMYLOU Harris has been in the country music game for a long time. Jeannie C. Riley. Once again an underrated pick, but this one's got a story behind it. You probably remember Jeannie from her classic track Harper Valley PTA.
And we don't believe you ought to be bringing up your little girl this way.
But at the time, she was more famous for her status as a boundary-breaking sex symbol than for her recording. While other country stars wore big, stuffy dresses, Jeannie showed that nobody could tell her what to do by wearing miniskirts and go-go boots. And to all the young folks who are watching, sure, that might not seem like a big deal today, but back in the day, that was scandalous. Unfortunately, the fame became too much for her, and Jeannie quit making country music in favor of gospel. But for those few special years after Harper Valley PTA, Jeannie C. Riley truly earned her spot on this list of country music's hottest babes, both for her braveness and her beauty. Carrie Underwood. Alright, changing gears a bit, because she's much more recent, and she's also more on the pop side, but Carrie Underwood is certainly in the country music game. She rose to fame after her victory on the 4th season of American Idol, back when it was still good. But that's not why she earned her place on this list, because that is for 2 reasons. 1, she has helped keep country music relevant for the newer generations. And 2, she is absolutely gorgeous. A huge shout out to Carrie Underwood for representing blondes everywhere. And Carrie isn't just known for being a babe in the music world either, because in 2005, she was voted World's Sexiest Vegetarian by PETA. So Carrie, if you're listening to this, I haven't had a burger for 2 weeks, please return my emails. Jokes aside, just look at Carrie Underwood and it's clear why she is on this list. SUZY BOGGUSS. There is nothing bogus about including BOGGUSS on this list, because SUZY was stealing the show in the 1980s. I'm talking about spandex, poofy hair, and girls like SUZY BOGGUSS. SUZY has long been considered one of country music's most underrated musicians, as well as underrated babes. Tracks like Someday Soon and Hey Cinderella are bona fide classics. And with her dirty blonde hair and charming, breathtaking grin, SUZY stole the hearts of listeners everywhere. Maybe it's the fact that she didn't write most of her songs that has kept her out of the spotlight for many years. But I think that's also part of her appeal. While the 1980s were full of flashy, glitzy musicians chasing fame, SUZY BOGGUSS was content being out of the spotlight, breathing her own unique and vibrant life into older material. Which is certainly good enough for me, so what about you? Does SUZY BOGGUSS belong on this list? Deborah Allen. This country bombshell was a beauty queen long before she was a country singer, and I do declare it shows. Known mostly for her 1983 crossover hit, Baby I Lied, Deborah brought a rock star look to country music way before it was in. And she's not just a pretty face. Deborah has written #1 singles for several different artists, not to mention herself. And a fun fact, early in her career, Deborah Allen was still treading water working as a secretary. But then she met a children's book author who encouraged her to pursue songwriting. That author was Shel Silverstein, world famous for books like The Giving Tree and Where the Sidewalk Ends. So thank you, Shel, both for the childhood memories and for this unforgettable babe. Faith Hill. This list has stunners from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, but we can't forget the 1990s. While the era had its ups and downs, it was a heck of a time for country music. And I think there is one singer who, more than just about anybody else, defines that magical era. That's right, we're talking about Faith Hill. Some singers aspire to have the image of a blonde bombshell, but Faith Hill defines it. Her first hit, the rollicking track Wild One, let audiences know she wasn't just a docile, pretty face. She's a wild one with an angel's face. And ever since the early 90s, Faith's powerful vocals, confident swagger, and legendary golden locks have reserved a spot for her in the pantheon of country's hottest babes. Even today, at 55 years old, she's still got it going on. But if you didn't know, fellas, she is very taken, as Faith Hill is married to country superstar Tim McGraw. Now, I'm not saying I hope they get divorced or anything, because I do love Tim's music too. But hey, if something were to happen, Faith, you know where to find me, on the internet. Shania Twain. I know that giving Faith Hill all the credit for defining the 1990s might inspire a few complaints. What about Shania, you might say? And there is good reason for that, because Shania Twain was one of the hottest gals in both the 80s, 90s, and the 2000s. And of course I couldn't leave her off this list and survive. Because more than perhaps any other female singer in country music history, Shania was able to make a career out of both her stunning good looks and her phenomenal chops as a musician. Her hits, songs like That Don't Impress Me Much,
That don't impress me much.
and Man, I Feel Like a Woman.
Oh, they're totally crazy. Forget them.
They aren't just popular songs, they are cultural institutions at this point. So a huge shout out to the queen of country pop, Linda Ronstadt. For this one, Hottest Women in Country Music doesn't even cover it. Try Hottest Women in Music, hell, try Hottest Women. Because Linda Ronstadt truly did it all. Country music, folk, pop, rock, Mexican roots music. Heck, she even performed on Broadway. All the while, Linda had a too cool for you look that drove people wild. Over the years, Linda dated guys like Governor Jerry Brown, George Lucas, and Jim Carrey, but chose to adopt and raise 2 babies by herself because she said no man was good enough for her. Now that's a flex. But hey, I do believe she's earned it, with hit songs like Blue Bayou and Different Drum. They're still better than just about anything on the radio today. So forget about the Grammys, Oscars, and Tonys. Let's focus on the awards that really matter. Linda Ronstadt, in my opinion, the #1 country music babe of all time. So, I know some people might disagree with some of these picks. It truly was a difficult list to compile, but that's not really my fault. Country music is so full of talented, gorgeous women. But regardless of what your specific opinions are, one thing is for certain. Every one of these women put out some pretty great music and lived up to the spirit of country music while they did it. And at the end of the day, the music isn't just about appealing to what's popular at the time. If that was true, there'd be no real country singers at all. Country music is about being yourself, loving your country, and singing the truth. And baby, that's the hottest thing of all. But we do want to know what you think. Which of our chosen country babes is your personal favorite? Who's the hottest and whose music is the best? And of course, who did I leave off this list? Please get in the comments and let me hear it. But before you go, please give this video a thumbs up, it really helps. Subscribe to our channel and come back often so we can keep telling you
What